back here at the Rainbow Six North American League Analyst Desk. Doa, Jesse, Jacob, and CDAPS with you. Desk is usually not a hard word to say, but you know what? I'm just still recovering from Space Station's epic run over the last couple of days. You know, again, 14 round won, 1 round loss. Pretty amazing stuff. We're moving on to a team that is 2-0 in the last 2 games versus a team that is 0-2 in their last 2 games. I'll give you a chance to guess which teams they are. Well, it might be harder than you expect to pick.
Well, Doa, Auction are currently in 9th, so surely they lost their last 2 games.
You would think that, but no. Oxygen come into this as the 2-0 team in their last 2 matches. DZ 0-2, losing both to Mirage and TSM. So this is going to be an interesting one. Oxygen on a little bit of a hot streak themselves.
I mean, we definitely had DZ painted as early favorites to re-emerge back into international competition, but given how they've played over the last couple of weeks, it's definitely slowed. They had their early start with Hyper, they had the early momentum when Skies came in and filled that position, and then teams suddenly started figuring them out more and more. And then OXG now suddenly have defeated a Sonic squad that was almost a shoo-in to make the major, and it looks like DarkZero's chances also could be in a bit more danger than we thought.
Yeah, and with DZ as a whole, sure, we can say that, yeah, honeymoon phase with Skies, it might be over. However, they were playing against 2 top 4 teams. Mirage, they look dang good. TSM almost looks infallible. So you don't necessarily want to knock DZ that much for losing these games, but momentum is a very important aspect.
Definitely.
And DZ today not just playing to kind of keep their major hopes alive, but also SI on the line for them. They win.
This is the 3rd time in a row you've said this about them.
And it's always wrong, but DZ, if they win this game, they make it to SI. If they win in regulation, they go to SI alongside XSET, who will also qualify.
Oh, all right. Well, a little pick-me-up for XSET after that stomping last game.
Okay, but
it's awkward, isn't it?
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
It's really awkward because XSET and DarkZero have the same amount of points in the standings right now, and they play each other next week.
Yeah.
So XSET technically don't want DarkZero to win this game because they want to go to the major, but even if they do win, they go to the invitationals, so pick your poison.
It's short-term, long-term.
6 one, half a dozen the other. But let's talk about Oxygen a little bit. This is another team that's, you know, they have a chance to get to SI. They have a good amount of points because of making both majors and all that. But, and of course, doing fairly well in stages 1 and 2. But I don't know, they can't make the major this time around. How much do you think they can salvage as far as at least coming away from stage 3 with a couple SI points?
I mean, I definitely think the potential for salvage is there now that we've seen them get 2 wins. There seems to be some kind of life where something is working because they got 2 straight Oregon dubs, and one of them was over a team that has been top 2 for basically this whole stage. But they still sit at 99% for SI. In spite of getting 6 points over the past 2 games, they're still in 9th place. They're still in a position where there are no SI points rewarded if that's where you finish. So the pressure is on them to not have to concern themselves with what teams place where at the major, or do they have enough points and have to worry about the qualifiers. They just need a little bit more to get to the biggest dance of the year, which is something that they've been touting as the thing they've been focusing over their own major dreams or whatever it might be. They're just trying to figure this team out enough to make sure that they've got that land on the horizon, even if it means they can't go to Sweden overall. But again, tall task, it's DarkZero.
Yeah, it almost feels like a godsend with how strong of a first start Oxygen had, that they have this nice buffer. They had the ability to make mistakes, kind of go through a revolutionary period, and right now we might be seeing them come out of the cocoon as beautiful butterflies in the last couple of weeks, but going forward, as just continuing to try to pull momentum, you were saying that maybe they aren't going to be in the position that they have to be really rooting for other regions at the other major, and once again, being able to still be in control of their own destiny is a gigantic luxury for this team because the pressure isn't necessarily there from external sources. It's all internal with pride, and sometimes that can be the best motivator.
Yeah, they're not out of the woods yet. I mean, they've had some good games, right? Sweater's starting to find some impact on his role. Newer's looking very, very good. Right. They've had some bad kind of strides there too, right? They've only played 1 map, and it's Oregon, which is kind of a very known quantity, and I feel like there's almost 0 chance that DarkZero let it go back to Oregon here. So they're not out of the woods. OXG still have a lot to prove. They want to showcase that they are that team that they used to be in previous stages.
Exactly, and the team they'll have to do that against is, of course, DarkZero. Now, we caught up again with these players to get their feelings on sort of the stage, of course, but also kind of where things are going. It's things are on a knife's edge right now, so let's hear what they had to say.
I think we came into the stage a little cold, not working probably as hard as we should have, just not fully in it, not as motivated, all that. And then I think another thing that affected us a bit was map pool. We struggle a bit more with the best of one map pool.
We usually have slow starts, which did happen, but it's typically a comm issue.
Always been a bit slower starters. I think it's something that we've been trying to address as well and trying to fix that problem. So we've done some work on it, so if we can show that we'll come into our first map a bit hotter.
Skies, he fit in perfectly. Like, he's been playing even longer than Paul. He knows how the game works. He's played the role before, and it's pretty simple. He's been a great teammate. He actually has pretty good energy, considering like we brought him out of retirement out of nowhere. It's been great. Seems like he wants it.
We're trying to do the best as we can with Alex. He's done really well. We're playing really good. Practice has just been refreshing. We're having a more like lighthearted outlook on the stage.
I'd say we have all the other rules set. Like, everyone's really good at their job. We have like good enough calling. We're clearly doing pretty good.
I think all we're missing is more time together. We're still off of like less than a week of practice pretty much. We have like maybe 6 days total of scrims. So the more reps we keep getting, I think we're just gonna keep getting better.
We're just gonna keep doing what we're doing. Like, we gotta make sure that we don't have any slow starts and really ready to go for these best of ones.
I think we still have a legitimate shot at making the major and playing very well at the major. So I'd say that's our focus for now.
Well, high hopes, big expectations, but mixed results a little bit for DarkZero on the front of, doing well, making it to the major, getting to SI. Still a team that can absolutely do that, but they need a little bit more than what they've been able to show recently, at least.
Yeah, DarkZero, I mean, they are a team that I think have been, had ups and downs throughout the stage. Currently a 43% attacking win rate. That's not gonna cut it if you want to make the major. They're perhaps the slowest team in North America. Yesterday on Oregon, they really wanted to force these kind of dining side pushes, and even if they would technically win the roam clear, they'd waste so much time getting it done that they'd have to scramble and end up faltering in the late round. That kind of stallingness was really taking advantage of MRG as well, who just started swinging on them. DZ could not find an answer to all that aggression. And in the SSG game, they also showed signs of slowing down, not having the time when they got to that execute. So I want to see DZ maybe picking up the pace a little bit more here against a team like Oxygen. It'll be interesting to see how they play their defenses. They haven't really been getting aggressive and trying to make plays happen. So for DarkZero, maybe they can take that into account and move a little bit faster, but it really is on them to kind of bring up the pace in this match.
Yeah, the speed and tempo of DZ is very reliant on one singular man. It's the IGL Canadian, and it's not with how he's telling people to work. It's mainly been with his playmaking capabilities. He's the kind of guy that leads in front of everybody. He doesn't go and delegate and be like, hey, you do this, I'm gonna turn this, I'm gonna do this. He's gonna be the one just sprinting in. You better follow him up, leading by example. And when he isn't able to find those openings, find those gaps, and exploit weaknesses in defenses, that's where we really see DZ falter on their problem-solving capabilities.
Yeah, I don't want them to get too micromanagerial to a point where we ask, is DZ syndrome a thing again? Because that was always been their kryptonite. When we talk about slow teams, you usually historically think of DarkZero as being that kind of thing. But don't fall back on that same formula. They very clearly had something different in spite of having Skies come in to fill a different gap. Like Panbazoo said, it's a role he's played before. He's good with the team. He does seem as though he wants it. They still do have major contention options here, but they can't let a really out of nowhere wild card obstacle like OXG slow them down.
Yep, that's right. A lot of it dependent on what map we're going to. We know DZ has been working at that. It's been a point of focus. So let's see what map we're going to for this match as the vetoes are in.
And I'm glad to see Oregon banned out. Again, this is what Oxygen won their last 2 games on. It's a very kind of known quantity of a map. It can be very simple, and I think it did allow them to kind of get away with some more, basic pushes and holds. So DZ want to make this a little bit more complicated. Villa also being taken out. It's a bad map for DZ, and when they lost to Oxygen just last stage, 7-3. Chalet then coming out as the next ban, as the final ban from OXG. We saw it for them against TSM, and was a big map for DarkZero back in Charlotte. So we're left with 3.
Yeah, and one of the biggest ones you got to look at is that Skyscraper that both of these teams haven't really been prone to banning. So it is a potential for a hook map on this ban phase of kind of a game of chicken is who's going to ban it and allow the other team to take control of the map phase. But it's still up right now. It's left to the 50-50. DZ definitely the team that has banned this map more, but in recent trends for Oxygen, they've really stepped back and put all the newer maps onto kind of back burners. I expected looking at this
You're
game.
kidding me.
I expected to see like a clubhouse or something with how these teams lined up, but DZ took that out, and the game of chicken kind of led to both teams butting foreheads, and we're going to Skyscraper.
I don't really know what to say about this. DarkZero have permabanned Skyscraper this entire year. OXG have played it twice and their results haven't been that great. But DarkZero is going for a map that they haven't played, and they're not saving it for international competition. They're bringing it out in a game against a team that is not going to the major, and they have international aspirations on the line. They had to spend so many of those bans taking things off the board that OXG were probably better at, and then left one of their permabans up that I question if they've even prepped for it. In a 9-map pool, you gotta take some of these things off the board and just not worry about some maps if you're not focused on being a 9-map pool team. But are DarkZero actually able to do as well? I think the fact that they let Skyscraper get that deep is a huge mistake for them.
Well, it's either a huge flub, right, or it's something that's calculated. You know, something maybe that we don't know about. We'll have to wait and see, but certainly something to think about as we go towards our predictions. First, we have to ask Blue and Stokes, of course. The Skyscraper map coming through, kind of a shock, but does it affect your choices?
Probably not at the end of the day. I definitely think it's going to be a mess because of the map choice ultimately in this game. Like, I feel like both teams are going to be a little bit unprepared. Oxygen probably a little bit more prepared, but given the state that their team is in, I don't have confidence that they can take a win against a team that's usually as well rehearsed as DarkZero on a map that's as complicated as this. So with that in mind, I'm going to be going with DZ. However, keeping in mind the fact that OXG are still on that little bit of a rebound considering their victory versus the Sonics yesterday. So I don't think that their chances are zero in this case.
Stokes.
I'm down for a good Hell in a Cell, Doa. You know me. We're going to throw it to Oxygen because, well, it's going to be a monkey pit, and I'm happy to just be a part of it.
All right, one for Oxygen, one for DZ. You know, I think valid reasons on both sides, but only one can be correct. We'll see which caster made the better choice when the map begins. Let's catch up with you two in a moment. And now, our analysts. Well, I mean, Oxygen obviously coming into this one looking pretty hot. They've got nothing to lose. That makes them dangerous. Is it enough for any of you to pick Oxygen?
Yeah.
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 Really?
That's enough. I feel like there's enough slipping confidence in DarkZero right now that obviously is going to sway some people's opinions on it. I think if you cannot continuously prepare for this many maps at the exact same level time and time again. And I feel like in spite of incorporating Skies in very quickly, maybe that's something that they haven't had enough time to really continue to hone in on. I think OXG have enough of a bounce back factor. They looked good in both of those games in spite of one of them being against Beast Coast. I don't know, dude. Like, I think this is such a big, like a massive mistake from DarkZero. I don't have confidence right now.
I don't necessarily want to say that it's a mistake from DarkZero, but going through on this map phase, like you can split maps into two aspects. I'm going to quote my good friend Cookies R6 on this one. You've got the maps that are all nice and proper. He calls them fork and knife, you know, very proper. But Skyscraper is one of those maps that can definitely devolve. And I think with you kind of comparing Oxygen to Animals and saying that they're backed up in a corner, they've got nothing to lose, you almost can take that one step further and say, guess what? They also have everything to prove, and they're trying to prove to themselves. And as they're bouncing back, they've looked a lot better than this DZ team that has started to kind of rescind back. They have no pressure, and Oxygen can really almost solidify their 99%. They can make it like 99.62 chance to get to SI. And I think this is a massive opportunity for them.
Am I the only one here who trusts Mint? What's going on? This is DarkZero. They don't just go to maps because they feel like or because they're getting outplayed in the map ban phase. Listen, DarkZero know what they're doing. They took a look at Oxygen, who the last 2 games have played on a very simple map and played kind of basic pushes and holds. They're going to a map that's far more complicated than that. It's an important game. They're bringing out a brand new map because it's such high stakes on this matchup. DZ know what they're doing. Skyscraper's going to be fine. I think they got this one.
I'm a little bit surprised that we do have 2 of our analysts and one of our casters going for Oxygen, just given what we've seen, right? I mean, but well, never mind. Forget my opinion. I only do majors finals calls myself. Let's see what the coin has to say. It's going to be Oxygen head. It's going to be tails DZ. Oh, the coin says tails. The coin goes with recent results as far as like, well, overall results, maybe not recent results. DZ either way is what the coin is going to pick. Now, what do the fans have to say? The fan vote over on Twitter is DarkZero with 69%.
They didn't know what the map was.
Leave. Sure.
Just saying.
Matters, it's not everything.
Just saying.
Maybe not. Let's see what our Twitter poll is as far as what other question we'll have to ponder going into this map. The question is, who can support his teammates better, Dream or Eclipse? All right. I mean, Dream is he's a fragging support.
He should have been
lately,
MVP,
which I
MGA,
like.
man.
You know,
Like, that was
he's been
great.
more aggressive. I appreciate that. That'd be my guess. But either way, Eclipse solid too. That's going to do it for the pre-show here. Do not go anywhere. When we return, Skyscraper will be the map between Oxygen and DarkZero. We'll see who takes it in just a few.
I feel a black power. Dollars coming, let me see it. On a mission, best believe it. Ask for it, you receive it. Dollars coming, let me see it. Ask for it, you receive. Stay up, counting all the way up. Count blessings, yeah, you know we pray up. Pray up, on track, now we going way up. Now we going way up. Now we going on track, now we going way up. Now we going way up. Now we going. Like glue, the leather stuck on me. I wanna move. And you, yeah, they all want a piece of me. Everyone in the crowd wanna feel it, they wanna be me.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the NAL. It is time to get ready for our second matchup of the day. Already proven itself to be full of surprises, mainly in the form of the map pick. DarkZero going to what up until this point was a permaban, and also just overall not a great map given the record from OXG. So we don't really know what to expect out of this matchup, to be honest. That's probably why the predictions were so awry from what you folks at home may have picked for this one, just off of a blind pick. But we're going to have to wait and see, as indeed it is going to be on Skyscraper. Stokes, let's start breaking this one down.
I mean, you can't give us crap, man. They slapped a percentage next to our name and then told us to start picking things. Sometimes you have to throw it at the wall and hope that it sticks. And, well, that's what Oxygen's game plan has been for most of this stage, trying to see if they could slot Sweater into Laxing's positions and see if it would fly. But this bird definitely did not. And it's more like a clay pigeon. Immediately struck ground. But they've been able to build it back up in some semblance of the word and figure things out. Sweater looking pretty stellar yesterday in their matchup. So we're seeing if Oxygen can have a 2-0 week here in Stage 3.
Absolutely the case. We'll have to wait and see how that's all going to pan out, of course, for DarkZero looking to try and prove themselves here. At the same time, there is a very important major qualification contention on the line.
You want to reference my, talk about my shirt again over here?
So it applies to Space Station.
Oh, you don't say.
Oh, I do say. As we said in game number 1, with Space Station winning that match, they had a 97% chance of qualifying. The rest of that chance relies on the results from DarkZero coming out of this one. If they do not win this game in regulation, SSG qualifies.
Yes, indeed. See, that's why, John, I chose today to wear the esports merch. I don't normally wear esports merch, but when I do, I choose winners. And it just so happens to be Space Station. As you said, have a very good chance of going to the major, although it's all resting on the shoulders of Oxygen and claiming the win here over DarkZero. And honestly, it doesn't even have to be that. If they force DarkZero to overtime, the same situation happens. So we'll see how they go about it. The first ban's through, and Monty is out the window.
Chat's getting crazy already. As we go through the rest of the bans here, Ace is going to be our secondary ban as well. OXG's having some fun today in the chat as well.
Bro, Newer's just started his credit journey. That guy is 18 years old.
Is he really?
Yeah. They probably gave him a credit card. And they were like, this is $350, Newers.
I'll check in with you in 6 months.
Oh, man. I remember the first time I went to go buy a computer, and I got my first credit card, and they're like, yeah, this is going to be $500. And I was like,
I think that's what mine was, too.
Yeah, I was like, look, I need another $1,000 on top of that. Can we make this happen?
They were like, come back when you pay it off.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Shout out Nebraska Furniture Mart. But past that, though, we're through our ban phase here, making quite a bit of sense, but we'll run through it anyways. Monty, very influential when it comes to Skyscraper, just because of the entry points via doors you have on these balconies.
Specifically for this take as well.
Yeah, for T especially here. Past that, Valkyrie, obviously, just info. She's always a fantastic pick. You have Nitro or Impacts as their secondary. She's just always very, very solid. Ace is a huge component of this map as well. You have ranged hard breach, and you're also making it to where your hard breacher has more firepower with that AK-12. And then lastly, but surely not least, we have Kaid. He's just really solid at locking up walls and really getting anything done that you need to in a very annoying manner as well. There's some definitely some slots around this map that you can patch things up from an unorthodox position and make it very difficult for DZ or whoever is trying to open the wall at that time and trying to get rid of that electro clock.
All right, so with all that out of the way, we got a few repicks. Actually, 4 out of 5 of the DarkZero members are going to end up repicking their operator here, so we end up with actually quite an interesting layout of them. The Sledge as well as the Zofia and Capital would be somewhat expected here, but then Canadian and Panba throwing the curveball in with the Ying being added, as well as that Gara hook on Panba. We'll have to wait and see how DarkZero tries to use this. Plenty of windows, plenty of outside access where we can see that Gara hook come into play, but it's all going to fall down to Panba in terms of how they decide to use it.
Well, I'm happy that we already made our Hell in a Cell reference for today, because this is definitely going to be high flying with the lineup that we have here. The Candelas, the Gara hook, and the Capital all tell you that they want to try and break everything down, bust up on those lines of sight, try and get this for us here. And we're seeing the adjustment here from Oxygen. Red alert for the defense. Seemingly aware that there could be the potential for DarkZero to try and burst their way in through Geisha. Oh, that Nitro cell perfectly placed from Newers. It takes out Eclipse and hampers NJR.
Pamba just waiting for the signal now. He's had that Gara hook primed and ready to go for at least a minute straight now. There's second guesses on it, though, as Oxygen has come up with the hard counter pretty much immediately. Explosives going directly into the execute point. Pamba as well, second guessing on his entry. Once he finally activates the hook, it works out, but he's caught on an off flank by Dream. NJR tries to make up for it, but DarkZero losing far too many players too quickly inside of this play. NJR now the only one still standing in a 1v3. He's going to try to make a play towards the staircase, has the pre-fire angle, and Dream shoots it out too early. So NJR will strike true in its first battle, but he's got to win at least 2 more here to still close out the round. The good news is all this play from DarkZero was forced very early in the round, so NJR has virtually an infinite amount of time to play this out. As we can see, though, he's not necessarily going to take that liberty fully as he tries to proceed forward. Now moving in past the T room. Doesn't have good intel, as you can see here, just guessing on the angles, and ultimately doesn't expect the swing from Foxe to shut it down in the favor of OXG.
Well, already a pretty awkward round, I'd say, for DarkZero as everybody attempts to work their way in through Geisha double, and they get exploded for it. Nitro Cell immediately takes out one, seriously damages NJR. DarkZero try and retaliate by having an entry in through, I believe, the karaoke window with the Gara hook, but that even goes pretty awry. Pambazoo actually not finishing the Jaeger. Took the initial gunfight, but didn't hit that last bullet, so he actually had to revisit the same angle to take him down, but that gave Oxygen enough time to finally move a player up inside of Drum to capture that cross and take him down. So it just made it toward DarkZero. Although they made such a grandiose play for Geisha, it didn't seriously work out for them in the end. They lost so many people on that entry, and it made it such an easy thing for Oxygen to break down at the end of the day.
So, taking a look at what Oxygen's going to deploy towards here in round number 2, still keeping themselves nice and nicely positioned here on the second floor, but we obviously are going to see quite a few operator change-ups, a lot more utility mitigation coming into the fold this time. Fox are going to be sticking with the Bandit as well. We saw it on the previous round too, so it's going to be carried forward into this second one. Obviously, DarkZero will add some pretty dramatic change-ups to their own lineup as the Gambit play off the Gara hook utility just does not work, so they have to go to a much more normal lineup here. NJR falling back now onto the Dokkaebi, of course, to play into the Intel Sky. Still going to be using the Candelas for entry support, of course, and aside from that, the usual expectation of utility for any general attacking lineup on this map.
I love the initial look that we're getting here from Oxygen's defensive setup. They've pressured things over to the west end to make it to where DarkZero does clear from here later on. It's going to take them some time, and they have to deal with some bogeys in the space, so DarkZero will have to make sure to get a read on that before stepping too far forward. But as to be expected, they are occupying the eastern balcony of Skyscraper at the current moment, attempting to figure out what their next move is going to be. There is no secondary EMPs on from this team. At least oh, there it is on NJR.
Yeah,
I was just saying, I just looked over this thing, but either way, NJR still has one more in his pocket. It was a little confusing there, especially for DarkZero. I was like, this is not something they would ever overlook, but either way, first one's going to go awry, and that means that they're going to lose one of Eclipse's exothermic charges. The good news is, though, is that one of these panels is soft, and that's going to allow Zofia to pop the left-hand side of the office.
Yeah, they do still have the opening into one of the two sites now, but obviously the mirror window being a direct counter against that is going to make it difficult for DarkZero to try and justify a play through that angle. We'll need a secondary point of entry for these guys to be able to really feel confident in moving forward past that point. So we'll see a bit of delay as they try to work towards that.
Well, a little bit of a false prophet there for DarkZero as they think that they get an easy entry point, but the cake was a lie. Canadian is able to move in down low, some frag grenades up top, but obviously not able to find too much yet. Another one, and this could deliver, but it's actually going to be onto the stairwell there, and obviously a hard wall up top will prevent anything happening to Eclipse. Canadian was trying to prevent anybody from bandit tricking that single panel there. He would have gotten a free kill for that and prevented it all in one foul swoop. DarkZero finally gotten a single panel open here, but DarkZero have so much to do here, John. Oxygen are breaking up so many different angles here. This is going to allow the back line, if that's what you want to call it, kind of towards the middle of the building there for Oxygen to be able to assist and shutting down this clear from DZ. It's Candela's in. Sky's going to get the first one and the second one as well. A beautiful entry here from the front office. Sweater will finally retaliate and take down Skies. Canadian's got some serious injuries, but he's still propelling himself forward. It'll be Newers to strike next. Somehow a 2 versus 3, make it a 1 versus 3 in favor of DZ. As they work their way in from their entry points, Sweater going to be the last remaining soul for Oxygen. He's inside of Dragon trying to adopt these angles, but DarkZero have done a bang-up job of shutting down a lot of these doors. Canadian will lie in wait, pick up the first round for DZ.
So DarkZero definitely having to work, especially to get that wall towards the top of the staircase open, but once they are able to swing that angle open, it seems like they're able to execute without too much of an issue. Just troublesome working past the pesky utility setup more than anything that Oxygen had set up, but once they had cleared that, the actual frags seemed to come their way pretty naturally, so DZ is able to exchange that first lost round out, bring us up to a 1-1 scoreline. We are going to go into the same defense as well from Oxygen, so DarkZero will get another chance to find success in the same avenue potentially.
You really have to give the backbone of that play over to Skies, because without him on that entry there, you really don't have anything to go off of. It was exemplary. He gets the first one there off the Candela strike and able to follow up with another big kill onto the side. That opens up so much area for DarkZero to work with. A lot of room to breathe. Not really a claustrophobic thing for them past that moment, because you have to worry about not only Skies, who's barreling in through that front desk, but also you have to worry about everybody else coming in through, the other breach on the other end, hopping in through, the back hallway over here to the eastern side. There's just so many different entry points for DZ at that moment and not enough Oxygen bodies to manage them all at once. So that's where that tide or, more of that tsunami-esque style of play can really work its way in, in those key moments. So for DZ, looking to see if they can pull ahead for the very first time here after they tied up in round 2. They're not going to shift around too much. Canadian still stuck to the nook, so seeing if he can sneak around and get some free frags.
Newer's going to see if there's any run-out opportunity to be presented inside of this first 30-second period as well. More than likely won't be met with a whole lot, though. As you can see, DarkZero, for the most part, has avoided that portion of the map in their spawn pick. They're going to work their way up into pretty much the same position as the last round to try and quickly open things up at the top of the main stairs here. Be able to get that pivotal access point into the site. You can already see as well, going for the explosive underneath, so we can't have the same shenanigans going on with the bandit tricking the Fox it was deploying towards in the previous round. He'll still keep Overwatch on that, of course, and even aside from that, too, still has a little bit of room to potentially sneak the batteries down, especially if DZ does not have a player positioned directly underneath of that spot.
Yes, indeed. And the more things change, Blue, the more they stay the same. That's what they say, and that's what's going to happen here with Oxygen's setup. So have a soft panel on the western side of this office wall. They'll end up popping that again, just like the last round. And just like last round, we have the mirror in the same exact place to try and counter out that exact play. DarkZero going to push in, you guessed it, Canadian downstairs to try and get these frag grenades delivered to Oxygen and prevent them from countering out these walls. Canadian's going to take some heat. It looks like they've got some nice angles up top to try and slow down his progression. Oh, that was it right there. Vertical, get it up with the follow shot. Finally, Canadian will go down, and this is going to be where DarkZero run into a lot of issues after losing Canadian.
Panda patiently waiting for the next swing to come out from that shotgun player around the corner. Vertical still positioned on that staircase. Still going to be a massive slowdown to any of the plans from DZ here. So we'll continue to wait for that opportunity to show, and Panda apparently finds it very quickly, continues to find opportunities as well. A second kill is now picked up. Again, Sweater turning around the disadvantage the DarkZero was facing just a few moments prior and turning it into their own instead. Now with the +1 player advantage in DarkZero's court at a 4v3. Sky's also working on a crunch from the other side of the building too, so Oxygen may have bitten off a little bit more than they can chew in trying to go for the second defensive attempt on this site. It seems like once again DarkZero is slowly figuring out their setup and looking for the counters, but the double nitro over the top of the drum from Dream sinks it perfectly to take out both the Clips as well as one additional member, Panda, falling down to once again flip the advantage, this time back in Oxygen's hands.
I'm so interested on how Pambazoo got that advantage and then DZ flips it completely to the other side of the map. This is just such an unfortunate circumstance for them, John. They get that entire advantage, but they don't do anything with it. Basically, what we just saw is that DarkZero gets those big 2 kills, right? And then they reset the situation. That's what just happened. Yep. They move back across and make it to where Oxygen can just deal with them on a different front instead. They basically pressured the eastern front and were like, no, we can't take the city. We must win on the western front.
This is actually a pretty big mistake from Oxygen too. Now that we're seeing these kills on replay, these were all through the floorboard that have been open next to that wall that was holding up.
That might have been it, because that's what I was waiting for, is a little bit of you know, some more info coming our way to see exactly how that happened. That's probably why DarkZero didn't have anybody in place to actually take advantage of that situation, and they were more than likely already going to pressure that side of the building. That was probably the call.
The Skies was already in position.
Yeah, exactly. So they just followed through instead. You can't try and have everybody immediately rotate back when they're already committed to that portion of the map. So, like I was saying, that's just super unfortunate for DarkZero that doesn't work out.
Yep. Definitely thought for sure that Pam had gotten the kills actually progressing against Vertical's position on the staircase. I think we both thought that actually.
I thought he was playing the single panel and they just decided to peek him. Yep. I was like, all right, Oxygen.
Thought he'd been able to work his way all the way into the site and they had a lot more control, but obviously Siege can be that very complicated game from time to time. It's not always as it appears in the kill feed, so we got a little bit flustered there. All good though, as Oxygen still hold up a good defense, even with that disadvantage considered. They're able to bring things back after that nice double nitro cell play and control the round.
Funny enough, they actually did a study recently on what the smartest gamers were, John, and what games they played. Do you want to know what games they played?
Oh, please don't say it.
I
know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen this same study.
Minecraft, first of all.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Wait.
Minecraft was one of them.
Weren't Siege players like in like the top like 2 or top 3 though?
Yeah, in the top 3. I believe it was the second or the first.
I thought that was the point you were leaning into. I was like, Siege players are so smart.
Yeah, Siege. Siege players are very smart, John.
You've inflated some egos.
Matt Stokes on Twitter. Follow me. I'll inflate your ego as much as you want.
Well, let's see how Oxygen can try to inflate the round count a little bit here as we are going back to a site that they have previously controlled. It's back in a T room. Obviously, it was a pretty close affair. DarkZero trying to go for a bit of an interesting strategy on that first attempt to take control. This one's looking like it's going to fall much more in the realm of normality, just looking at the operator count. But even then, we're going to see them struggle to make first impact here. Noor is able to strike, taking out the sledge played by Canadian, giving Oxygen the opening advantage on this site yet again.
I'm not too worried for DarkZero, even looking at the situation that we're being presented right now. Not on a round-to-round basis, but just on a game basis overall. They're on the offensive side of Skyscraper. This has always been hard-fought for every team that's had to visit this. The only team that I can never really think about when it comes to good offenses for Astralis, or for, rather, Skyscraper is Astralis. But Vertical going to be able to take down another one there in the meantime. And so far, it's been easy pickings for the Oxygen squad. Guys, was that a flip side charm? I don't know if that was a flip side charm or not. He's got a green charm on there.
Wait till he zooms out.
Pretty sick if it was.
Catch up with it.
Pretty cool if you did. Newer's going to take down Skies. This has just been, oh my god.
Yeah, this is over, unfortunately.
DarkZero cannot buy a kill, man. Oh, I thought Eclipse was dead to the world there, too. I thought Oxygen was just going to swing to the high heavens.
Unless we see something absolutely crazy from Eclipse here, this round is pretty much done and dusted. Should expect a 3-1 lead on the scoreboard in just a moment to show up for the Oxygen roster. We'll wait and see, of course, what Eclipse can potentially give us. But once more, DarkZero just losing far too much in the early round roam clear. Not even really going to have a hope of making a legitimate contest attempt on the site here. So Eclipse just hoping for the best inside of a 1v5 clutch. Not a single point of damage done to any of the members of Oxygen as well here. Really just padding for time more than anything here as he's holding the angle, hopefully giving Canadian a little bit of time to correct some of the problems he may have noticed in this round and the ones prior.
Well, lots of pre-firing, but it's not going to prompt Sweater to do a dang thing. He has not moved from this exact positioning inside of T for probably 40 seconds. Eclipse now at the top of the stairwell, but it'd be Newers to finally shut him down. A flawless one for Oxygen.
So with Oxygen now in seemingly full control of this matchup, what do we see from DarkZero? Do they call the pause here? Do they take a step back, try to figure out what's going wrong? Do they move forward?
See a TO? Oh,
there we go.
Yeah.
See, we're good like that. So we're going to see DarkZero call for a timeout. It is time for the coach to give some input here, especially now that we've gone fully around back to the same site we started off on as well and seen similar issues transpiring for DarkZero that was present on the other site also. So there's definitely something that's seen that needs to be corrected. It needs to be corrected quickly as Oxygen is running away with this game right now at a 3-1 scoreline.
Past anything statistic or strategical for DarkZero, I think the number one thing I'm noticing right now is Mint's mustache and just how fantastic it looks. I mean, he looks like he's supposed to be a head coach, right? Does he not look like he's supposed to be walking around with a clipboard just being like, yeah, you did your stuff. Good job, boy.
Get him to borrow some suits from Joe Bro.
Hey, he does. Yeah, he definitely needs to take on the style. I do love the hoodie, though, for sure. I've especially loved DarkZero's pink and black colorway for this October, so...
Absolutely the case. Well, we are going to hop out of that pause and back into the game where, once again, we are going to test the mettle of Oxygen. They will finally have to extend beyond the bounds of the second floor as well, because, of course, we've seen them lock down both the other side of the second floor and the T room, as we just saw in the previous rounds. And now we've got to head downstairs, just below the T room here in the barbecue. We're going to try to hold on to a tertiary site before being able to unlock office on the other side of the second floor on the next round.
Oh, right
a 50-50 poll.
But, you know, it might be a 50-50 poll, but one of these things is not like the other. I'll let you figure that one out. Yeah, Club's not having too hot of a game right now, but obviously his fate can change. Still a lot of game left. And also, if you guys didn't know the probabilities that we're going on currently, DZ with a regulation win has a 42% chance to still go to the major, but some interesting factoids about this matchup as well, if you didn't know and are just joining us. If Oxygen ends up winning this match or taking it to overtime, SSG are going to Sweden.
Basically, if Oxygen wins 3 more rounds, that's it.
Yep. Yeah, actually, legitimately. That's it. It's only going to take 3 rounds. And 3 rounds might seem like a pretty short time in Siege, but it's probably going to seem like a lifetime for DarkZero.
Yeah, definitely expecting DarkZero to bounce back at some point here. Be very unlike them to just kind of bow down over this next series of rounds. And maybe we see something out of them in the second half. But we'll have to wait and see, of course. Coming off the attack pause, expecting quite a bit to change for DZ. Even on the operator lineup side, we have seen a few things dispatched from normality. Still keeping the Ying in play. That's been a consistent thing pretty much since the beginning of the game. But now we're going to see Canadian bring out a bold choice. And so will Panba, as we're going to go with the Ashe and Twitch combo for those 2 players.
Yeah, we are taking the sneaky chains off of this entire beast. They have went full-on gunfight mode with this lineup. Twitch, Ashe, Ying, Zofia, and Sledge. Those are all amazing rifles in their own right. So, looks like DZ are ready for war. We'll see if Oxygen can set up a solid line of defense as DarkZero will be gracing the battlefield from the eastern front and working their way across. There's not too much going on when it comes to the drum and, not statuary, but we haven't played this a little bit. So it's the dragon statue and then it's a little thingy up here. Yeah. But there's no shield here, and there usually is on this sign for the shrine. That's what it's called, John, a shrine. So not having that shield, DZ are going to be able to push themselves even farther forward. That's usually what we end up seeing on a defense around this area, but obviously Oxygen aren't on this top floor. They're downstairs instead, so it makes a lot more sense to draw back a lot of your resources and try and play it a little bit closer to the chest.
Dream taking up a pivotal position right next to the bulk of DarkZero's push here. Very much in a make-or-break play spot now. He is supported as well, both on a top and bottom perspective. You can obviously see the alibi being played out down below Sweater. Has his bottom flank covered, and at least one teammate is going to be watching things up on top too. So good setup here coming in from Oxygen, and it pays off. Newers obviously going to be able to strike first here, taking down Skies. Will actually prompt the complete fallback from Dream, just leaving that wall kind of pre-plastered. Oh, Panba though, sneaking down, hearing the shotgun. Sweater just caught in the open, but Dream ready for the exchange, trades him back out. And Foxay also grabbing a clip, leaving just Canadian in the fight now. But 2 players down all of a sudden, and JR, is also still in this 4DZ as well. So it'll be evened out into a 2v2 as DarkZero gets some control back after a chaotic start to the fight.
Vertical's going to jump down black stairs and try and reassess the situation with Newers. Canadians discovered one of the players, though, and that's going to be solid info to continue on And it'll be able to get rid of some cover here and create a new hole inside of Kitchen. An easy cross for him here. Plant's going to be up to NJR. With minimal time, NJR has got to get here. Back into the hole now, but oh, the top cover here from Vertical. Do they know he's upstairs? He's gotten the kill. Oh,
so
he sneaks
sneaky
away with this. That was gorgeous from Vertical. If you guys remember, he actually jumped down the black stairs earlier on there to try and come back and help Newers on that lower floor. So for him to rotate back upstairs and play that from the Vertical position, that's a much, much better position for him to just be playing in general. Given these circumstances, it starts to get really, really low time. He's that last little red button that Oxygen has to smack and stop DarkZero from gathering that round, and it goes off successfully. Not a single person on DZ aware of Vertical's positioning. He's able to pick up a round because of it.
DarkZero about to replicate the success we saw from Space Station in their most recent matchup just one game ago, with a potential 5-1.5 about to be shown on the scoreboard here against DarkZero. Of all teams, the revenge tour for Oxygen is well and alive as we started it yesterday, taking down the Sonics, already the #1 team in the league. Now DarkZero potentially about to fall to them as well if they don't change up their attitude over these next few rounds.
And my friend, they have 0 timeouts. There is no way to slow down this catapulting race car from Oxygen, which in the strangest manner of all time, Oxygen go from looking like they don't know how to walk to just fully sprinting. It's like somebody learned how to speedrun QWOP in one day. It's the craziest thing ever. So I'm very, very happy for them, though. But you have to be feeling for DarkZero in this situation, especially for Skies. I mean, Skies has done so much this stage for them, coming in at the latter half and showing just how great a player he is for what could potentially be his last go-around.
To be fair as well, on Oxygen's side of things, we did expect them to turn things around at some point. I just don't think we expected it to happen so quickly, almost like overnight. We just went from one play week to another, and all of a sudden they had really woken up on us here. As we knew that the roles were potentially part of that problem, and maybe just the comfortability of players in those roles. It seems like that may have very well been the case, as Oxygen seeming much more confident this week alone, and that's been a trend even coming off of last week's games also, when they finally picked up their first victory last Wednesday, if memory serves me correctly.
Yep, Laxian was the heartbeat of Oxygen, so to not have him, they had to create an entirely different monster with Sweater and the rest of the team trying to figure out exactly what could be done, and it seems like they've struck gold, at least for right now. Obviously, it's still going to take some time and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get them prepared for SI, but as of right now, they are at least looking like a serviceable squad, and that's something to start with. So for Oxygen, trying to claim this half in 5-1 fashion. DarkZero been able to break up some of the flooring here, or rather Oxygen, in order to support some angles downstairs. Speaking of angles, Vertical will be able to take down Canadian, who's gotten picked apart twice in a row now by Vert.
DarkZero continuing to struggle here at the outset of the final round of their attacking side. At least they'll have a little bit of relief in being able to switch back over to that defensive side and maybe control a little bit more of the game pace and game state overall when they move to that side. Newers with a big chance to show his stuff right here because he has the breach in front of him and the mirror window to support it, but he is going to have to watch both sides of this approach, obviously with the barricade still being behind him. DarkZero could decide to pressure both at once and overwhelm him, as it does not necessarily have a whole lot of trade support inside of that specific position. DarkZero, though, once again, seem like they're a little bit unsure about how to proceed with this one, trying to figure out the best option, and more importantly, trying to open up another flank from down below. Vertical, ready for that engagement against Panba, though, takes him down and continues to show the struggles that DarkZero have had on their entry, specifically for Panba there.
Yeah, this is the Vertical that we expect to see. You give him a position, and he'll take a country mile away from your opponents. A triple kill for Vertical, and DarkZero cannot hold a candle to Oxygen. They've snuffed out the offense. Skies, the lone member of DZ, will finally be dusted, and Oxygen have a 5-1 half on Skyscraper.
It's DarkZero, all teams as well. This continues to surprise, even with the results from yesterday versus the Sonics as well. It just doesn't feel real as of yet, but Oxygen, it really seems like they are back, and back with a vengeance. Cannot change up their fate for the major, but they can certainly play spoiler, and that's what they're about to do. With one more round, they will send SSG to the major.
Man, Truly incredible stuff. I did not see this coming, honestly.
I thought it was going to be close.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be close. I feel like you and I keep just reading through the same script. I thought it was going to be this. I thought it was going to be that. But no, it's always different. This entire year of 2022 has been like the biggest curveball for Rainbow Six Siege that I have ever experienced. You know, I think past that, a lot of these teams, like even I was talking to Kino earlier today, to be successful for a super long period of time in Rainbow Six Siege is almost damn near impossible. It is so hard given how much Siege you have to play, and not only that, but the determination it takes in order to accomplish just playing that amount of time, let alone going out and defeating your opponent every single opportunity that you get. So for a lot of these teams, the burnout is real, and towards the tail end of the year, we're really starting to see it gather up a pretty big storm for some of these teams that have had some pretty successful results earlier on.
So let's see here if Oxygen can get it done. One more round standing between them and potential, well, for SSG at least, qualification going into the major, and for DarkZero as well, their chances continuing to shrink by potentially losing what could have been a regulation victory on this map. If not, it needs to be 6 rounds in a row. This entire half needs to be perfect from DarkZero to still close it out and keep very good odds that they as well make it to the major. As you can see at the top there, they're currently number 6 in the league with a 4-2 record, not including this game, of course.
Frag grenade out, Geisha wall now open. It'll be Dream on a lone mission on the south balcony, occupying that breach for the moment. Oxygen won't be pushing too far ahead, though, past that. They've already got some control on the downward floor, so looks like they'll be mostly focusing on seeing where they can try and find themselves a pick. So many bodies down low. Really want to see how Oxygen's going to go about this. Are we going to go through this via the stairwells? Are we going to try and reassess and go out towards the balconies? So many different ways that they can go about this, but the big interesting part of this is the fact that Vertical is on Osa, so you really expect to be occupying a window or something along those lines. Yeah, Sweater even gets tagged up there. Pambazoo actually having the advantageous position, but Pamba still losing it.
So once again, the struggles on first duels for DarkZero continues. Pamba drop another first fight there, giving it over to Sweater at very low HP. Skies making up a big difference, though, with a sudden peek over by the balcony doorway just outside of the site. That drops the case from Vertical as well, and is on top of that, eliminates the OSA, which was a critical piece of execute utility that Oxygen was planning on using to get into this site.
So many angles created through the flooring upstairs. NJR will take down Dream, who is trying to sneak into Geisha and influence Canadian, but it's ill-advised, and he'll go down because of it. Foxay will get tagged up literally from the smoke grenade as it smacks him in the face, but it'll only be minimal damage at the end of the day. He's gotten control of the case. It is a 3 versus 4, but Oxygen have got to have a solid entry in order to find a home for this case.
Unsure if it was the Gemini or not that moved forward, but I thought we saw Nurs head into T-Room just a second ago. More than likely it could have ended up being the Gemini, though, but yeah, it looks like it was indeed the case. We don't see that silhouette on the inside anymore. Foxay continuing to try and justify this swing. There is an opponent around the corner, but smart moves from Foxay to back away from this one. There's a shotgun on the other end of that duel, and even under pressure, Eclipse still able to pick it up, but pretty medium range for that shotgun also. Foxay falls, and another snipe out from Eclipse as well. There's a little bit of chip damage, basically, to finish that last player off, but still nicely played here as DZ on the rebound, at least, to start the second half off. That'll bring the scoreline to 2-5. Still a long way to go, though, for DZ to really bring this back.
Into the shotguns, Jamaican, baby. Buckshot, 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 as he takes them all down at range. Eclipse, some nice shots there. DarkZero able to get something going on defense so far. It's going to be hard fought. As you said, if they make any errors on this half, everything goes out the window for them for the most part, and SSG already has one of the slots for North America, which means that their chances of going are even more slim.
Time for DarkZero to show us what they have on a new site, of course, as we'll send them just to the other end. We're going with the same rotation that Oxygen went with. That is how most teams are proceeding on this map, at least in North America at this point. We do still tend to see plays on this map be pretty rare inside of NA. We don't get to see it all that often. When we do, this is generally the way that things are proceeding. And of course, because we have the mirror left in, that's also going to be quite a quintessential piece of utility for holding onto this site. Eclipse will immediately be picking that up. We'll also see the same bandit play that Foxay primarily was deploying towards when Oxygen was on the defense in the previous half.
We have Skyscraper being played a singular time in the entirety of Stage 3 minus this matchup, and it was defender-sided at a 58% defensive win rate. Now, the funny thing about this is that not a single person won offense exhibition. Nobody did. So that's a new stat actually here, as Oxygen was able to win that, I do believe, once or twice. I do believe it was once. So we at least got some new statistics there for Skyscraper. But as I was saying, the defensive end usually the favorable side. Nitrocell out for Canadian, but yes, very far. Ended up flying out into the yard. Got a good arm on him, let me tell you. Eclipse is going to end up taking a little bit of damage, but he's able to get back to one of the Kona stations and heal right back up.
Obviously, this is going to be the benefit of those Kona stations. Gives your roaming team a lot more aggressive potential here, just because if things go wrong, they take a little bit of chip damage that knocks about a third of their HP. They can just go and get it right back and reactivate those very same aggressive tendencies. OXG definitely being wary of this, really more so because the utility for this operator, aside from the Claymores, is not going to be that great. We will see Sweater placing a few of those down on the outskirts of the usual hop-out windows. Aside from that, we'll group up with the rest of the team. Newers, though, just executing Eclipse just when he felt the confidence to go for a little bit of a swing as well. Thankfully, Canadian restores the balance for DZ by also knocking out Sweater on the Zof.
Very impressed with how much headway Oxygen have made. We've seen a lot of teams really struggle to get past the halfway mark of the map.
That's unfortunate.
Oxygen have been breaking this down so easily. To get quite a few kills in the process as well. They're not even forcing DZ back to the site. They're killing them, John. It's a calling for anyone in pink and black in this current moment. This guy's going to be trying to do his damnedest to play around this dragon statue, but for Oxygen, looks like we're going to be reaching a dull moment just for some time. They want to try and re-drone, reassess, and see where their attempted entry point will be. Some exothermics will go down to create a larger hole for them to try and traverse through. Pambazoo's going to take some fodder here in from the statue side that Skies is still covering. Are they going to be aware that he's around here? Oh, some crucial shots go wide, and he's going to go down. Dream wins it out against Pambazoo, and John, that's it right there. Space Station Gaming, a squad that was just on the cusp of success for the entirety of 2022, is finally going to a major.
First team to be locked in for the major. A big congratulations to Space Station. Obviously, asterisk on that we'll have full confirmation on that from a relevant admin at a little bit of a later point in the day, but I don't imagine there'll be too much of a delay on that. Big congrats once again going over towards Space Station, as they should indeed now be the first team to be qualified for the major.
And they got
on the day we announced it, too, as well. So, like, hey, that works out for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the coolest thing about that as well is that, you know, it's also in... also in a pretty good light as well because of, you know, Oxygen obviously having a pretty rough stage, able to bounce back and find a really big game up against DarkZero. If you guys remember, our good friend Jesse J. Chick on the desk actually had some really good insight on this game, and he said that DarkZero know exactly what they're doing. They're going to take them to this map, and they're going to win. So, you know, I think that Jesse's right. Totally, I'm not even joking. I definitely do think that DarkZero do know what they're doing when it comes to their map bans and everything. They have some immense talent across the board, not even on the roster, also in their coaching staff that are, I mean, just siege royalty. So, you know, pretty unfortunate circumstances, I think, have befallen DarkZero. I don't think that they thought that Oxygen were in such amazing spot for a map like this.
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of teams were kind of under-reading Oxygen a little bit this week.
What if this was just like their first map that they invested any time into as a team, and they're like, oh yeah, totally, we're going to Skyscraper.
They're just pocketing it until now.
All for this one crucial moment to dash DarkZero's hopes.
Just to ruin DarkZero's day. Well, we'll see if they can recover it at all here. Like we said, it is a dire straight moment for DZ now. They need 4 rounds in a row. That doesn't necessarily guarantee them anything huge out of this matchup. That just gets them the 1 point from the overtime loss at least. If they want anything real to try and push themselves a bit closer towards major contention, they will want to bring themselves fully back, try to win it in OT. But even then, that's only going to be 2 points out of this matchup here. Oxygen just needs to win 1 of the next 4 rounds, and they will get the full 3 instead. Wait and see, of course, but looking strong for Oxygen to potentially close this one down and surprise the folks at home yet again.
DarkZero are seriously hoping that Oxygen are a little more bullheadish. Trying to hold those aggressive angles initially, but Skies will be forced back. We'll add some more kunai to the situation as well that Oxygen will be forced to clear. Luckily enough, they have quite a bit of utility that can accomplish that quite handedly. So NJR going to continue to add my discs to try and defend his deployable shield as DarkZero attempt to slow down Oxygen's entry. Pambazu going to be playing on Terrace as well. Oxygen and slowly walking them back. The first big engagement does go NJR's way, but it's quickly refragged by Newers.
Newers seems to be always there for the refrags. He's been really on top of his game in that, specifically for this half and the 2 to 3 rounds we've played out there so far. Beautifully done. Just wanted to give him a little bit of commendation really quickly there, but away from that, things are going to go quiet after that first volley of frags between both teams. Canadian as well, gonna get caught. Saw Newers on the outside, so another accolade going Newers' way here as he's able to hunt down a second player. Good possibility for a third, and there it is! Wow. As we saw the silhouette sitting on top of him. Must have had some great intel off of that drone cam we went into as it works out to strike a third time here. Skies finally responding for DZ as he takes down Vertical. So the round not done just yet. DZ can absolutely win this in a 2v3.
Oh, Eclipse, some crucial shots not landing, and Dream takes him down. Dream with the opportunity for 2, but it's Newers with a quad kill. 15 kills, I do believe, and 4 deaths for Newers. I'd just like to remind you guys, Oxygen have had a rough stage, and this man was smoking some pack when it came to this matchup. And not only that, John, he's still inside of the top 10 for players in the entirety of the NAL. Past this, he's probably in the top 5 now. And again, that's with the track record that Oxygen have had this stage. An amazing game for him. It's actually 14-4, folks. Also, Sweater with a little bit of smack talk there at the end of the game. Troy Comedian said in the chat. Oh, John, do you find that quite comical?
Oh, it's funny. It's funny. They're talking loud now after they've had a good week, but they still have one more game to go. Oxygen, like we have mentioned multiple times, unfortunate as we're seeing this rebound far too late into the season. They are not going to be able to qualify for the major no matter what they do and no matter how good these games are, but they are showing us the potential that this team is going to have now heading into the postseason and heading into potentially 2023's SIs. OXG still more than likely locked in for that as of this point.
Yeah, I mean, some incredible stuff happening in this stage. I think a lot of it not really known at the very beginning. This is one that was quite unpredictable in a year that seemed unpredictable. Walking into this last stage, a lot of us putting quite a bit of merit in the likes of Astralis, Xed, a lot of these younger guns, and it seems like, well, it's finally a reckoning that's happening here in NA. TSM and SSG on top, and wait a minute, is that Sonics also in tow? Some crazy stuff happening here in the NAL.
Absolutely the case. And there's still been new showings as well from teams like Mirage having a fantastic performance so far at this stage, looking to improve on that. But this match, ladies and gentlemen, has come to a close. So we're going to throw it to a quick break. When we do come back, we're going to have your analysis team ready to break this game down and get you ready for the rest of the action here today at the NAL.
And just like that, as you can see, Space Station Gaming has qualified for the major after that Oxygen win. That made the standings as such that they are our first team from North America qualified to the major in Jönköping. I was getting ready to say the Swedish city name and it messed up everything else.
It's a hard
name. Doesn't matter, thanks. We're back here. The hosts who shall remain nameless, Jesse, Jacob, and none other than CDAPS.
Decaps.
At the desk, Decaps, of course. Otherwise known as Decaps. And over in Vegas, we have Newers waiting to chat with us a little bit about that Oxygen win over their opponents. And guess what, Newers? How you doing?
What up? I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. So tell me about kind of the vibe on the team after being disqualified from being able to make the major, obviously looking ahead to SI. Did that unlock anything? Did that take away any pressure and kind of help Oxygen find this sort of like new groove that you seem to have fallen into as a team?
Not really, because we're still playing for like NAL finals, which we still need to win out so we can go. But regardless, I feel like the problem still would have been the same even with the old roster. So I feel like it just took what we did in Berlin. We had a bunch of negative, just like bad habits, and then we translated it to the beginning of this stage, and then we really our coaches really put a foot down and just locked us in, and then we had to role change everything, and now we've been good. We're playing really well.
You had two really tough opponents this week. You had Sonics yesterday, obviously, DarkZero today. You beat them both. What percentage of the practice this week was focused in on understanding your opponents, getting ready for what they're going to do, versus kind of reforming the lineup, the role changes, making sure that you guys were kind of all in sync on that front?
Yeah, that's a good question. We really didn't care how other teams would play because we knew we already had our own problems. We would play scrims in practice and just walk around and kill everybody, and then when we translated to game day, we have no team play, no adaptability in that sense. And we had like a mental note of what we could do. We just walked around and killed people. So it took us 2 weeks of a good practice and just being very consistent. And yeah, it's been paying off.
Alrighty, as some people may or may not know, you did play with Sweater at the same time in the T3 Journeys. What sort of improvements have we seen with your duo-ship now that we see the roles lining up as both you guys are really kind of in your homecoming period?
Oh, that's my boy. I can't lie. I love Sweater, but I'm glad we're both on the entry. It's been doing very well, and I feel like Vert plays the Lurk role way better than Sweater would have. Not dissing Sweater, but he's a really good entry, and that's where he deserves to be played.
Okay, so you know it's DarkZero. You're already aware of what their ban tendencies look like. What was your reaction to them letting Skyscraper get so far in the pool that you had the option to play it? How the heck did that even happen?
Honestly, they thought that we would take them theme park 100%. I would not put a doubt in my mind because we first banned Sky almost every time we play. So hold on. When they left those two maps up, we have nothing to lose at this point. Literally nothing to lose. And we've been practicing Sky recently, and we're going Sky. That's it. We just felt very confident. And I knew they're a very Counter-Strike heavy team, and that they would watch our 80 theme park VODs and just try to pinpoint what we do. But Sky, they have nothing. We changed everything since Charlotte. So.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, you got the win today. Another starting that's 3 in a row for Oxygen now. That has to feel good as you get ready for the SI prep theoretically down the road. But thanks for taking time today to chat with us a little bit about that match. And good luck with the final game next week.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
All right, Newers from Team Oxygen getting the win. Like I just mentioned, that's 3 wins in a row now for Oxygen. Whatever issues they had been having seem to have been ironed out a lot. But how much do you think it's that versus how much do you think it is just DarkZero not being ready for that map pick?
I mean, I think this really did kind of prove to me that OXG, are really back into it. Because the last 2 maps, the fact they were playing on Oregon, it did feel like, well, maybe this is just kind of a one-map trick type of thing, right? They're comfortable on one map. Can they convert that to other, to other battlegrounds? And even though DarkZero didn't look fully prepared for this matchup, it was impressive the way the Oxygen were playing. We saw some really strong positions on defense from Vertical. Thought he had a really great first half there. And then Newers really cleaning up on that second half. 14-4, bounced up heavily throughout those last couple of rounds, playing on the Yana, getting a ton of kills late in that game. So really impressive stuff from Oxygen. I wasn't 100% convinced coming into today that they were kind of that team that we've known them to be in the past, but I'm sold now. I think OXG will be just fine.
Yeah, and it really makes sense to see Newers pop off as soon as we got to the attacking side. With how entry dependent we can see Skyscraper go. And even with Sweater being bottom of the scoreboard, almost all of those deaths, especially on the attacking side, were just immediately traded with him and Newers walking hand in hand, being a duo. That was kind of Sweater putting his body on the line for the team. This is team over matter, and it definitely worked out today.
God, DarkZero, what were you thinking? That is the story of this game for me. As well as we can talk about OXG playing this game, this is woefully underprepared for a team that very clearly, even if they've been saving stuff behind the scenes for Skyscraper by banning it this whole year, was not prepared to face an OXG team that still maybe had 1 or 2 wildcard factors by then needing to figure some things out. So even if you're trying to counter-strat a team like OXG, they're still in their rebuilding phase. They're still looking for their own identity. And if you combine that with a map that you don't have any experience on this entire year, you've never played it in live competition in spite of 3 straight NAL stages and going to a major, I think it's a massive oversight that you allowed this to get that deep. And I think Newers hit the nail on the head. They don't have anything to lose. They're like, screw it, let's give it a shot. We have some practice on it. It is the easiest thing in the world to take your opponent to a map that they may not be all that prepped for. I'm sorry, DarkZero. I didn't have confidence in you going into that map, and I now don't have any confidence you're actually going to make Sweden.
That is the kind of the crazy potential conclusion of this, is that DarkZero put themselves in a very difficult spot to make it to the major. It'd be wild if they didn't. But let's take a look at some of the replays that kind of help create that scenario. We're going to look specifically at the contributions that Vertical made in this series. We talked about Newers a lot, but Vert was there doing some work as well.
Yeah, 3 times we saw Auction defending on the exhibition bomb site, and I thought Vertical was an incredibly important player for them on every single round. He just played these office stairs so well, and Canadian was always on the receiving end of it. You see with the shotgun there, and there were a couple of trade backs that we saw from him. This is a different site, of course, playing up above in the clutch. Also a great movement. But what I really loved was how consistently he was able to stop Canadian from having an impact down below there. Either getting the kill onto him, or at least, you know, maybe getting the kill, getting traded. Sometimes 2 if Pambazoo also fell after him. This is him in the corner. Once again, top right, there he is. Always managing to find these frags, so consistent. And this is such an important position. This is, you know, being down there is how you get that single panel open. It's how you get into the office. It's how you actually make a pinch play work on this bomb site. So the impact Vertical was having in that position was incredibly powerful from Auction. I think he deserves a lot of credit for why they were so successful in that first half.
Yep, that's right. Vertical and the rest of Oxygen putting it together. I still can't believe it. 3 in a row now, actually. That's going to be interesting to see what they can do with their last game of the stage next week. But for now, we're going to take a bit of a break and get ready for our 3rd series of the day. It should be a good one as well. It's going to be Sonics taking on Astralis. Sonics, of course, trying to bounce back. Astralis trying to prove that they are still a team to be reckoned with. Here in NAL, we'll see if they can prove that in just a few.